Well, g'day, it's Jono Brake here with another round of Monday Myth Check, and today I'm going to talk to you about this idea that a good leadership team never disagrees. And we're going to unpack this one, we're going to check it to see if it's a myth and discover what all of this means. So let's think about this for a minute. If everyone in your last leadership meeting agreed to everything you ever said, how would that meeting have gone? Maybe they did, and maybe you felt like no one could speak up. So this is the thing we're going to talk about today. As usual, just bring some statistics to this, or just bring some examples to this. So I'm going to read this out to you. The myth that harmony equals health. Google's Project Aristotle, a 5-year study on team performance, found the psychological safety, not consensus, was the number one predictor of a high-performing team. So we're going to talk about what psychological safety is first. Teams that could disagree openly outperform teams that stayed polite. Okay, so this is an interesting conversation here because at the end of the day, we're always trying to, not trying to upset things here, not trying to disturb things. We're just trying to be polite. We're trying to be nice to people. And what we're hearing here is that actually this honesty and this kind of conversation is very, very important. So let's think about this. So what is psychological safety? Well, psychological safety is the belief that you won't be punished, humiliated, marginalized, whatever, for sharing ideas. Okay. Now, a lot of people don't share ideas. Now, even if you create the safest environment, there's always going to be a little bit of that kind of what I call the amygdala reaction, like the freeze, the flight, the fight, the more of the freeze than anything else, that kind of reaction that says, I just need to be careful about what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. Okay. There's always going to be an element of that. So psychological safety says it's actually okay to be wrong. It's okay to speak up. And it's a two-sided thing here, right? So the leadership has got to create a place for this to happen. But at the same time, you've got to be okay with the fact that you could say something that is not correct, okay? And you get corrected and you take that on board. That doesn't mean they're right, but you take it on board, you chew on it, you then go backwards and forwards in a very civil way. It's interesting. One of the things I love about what my experience of the Australian school system was that they taught civil kind of conversation, civil backwards and forwards between a student and a teacher at a very young age. So you were taught to question what you were learning, not to be disrespectful, but to ask questions and to think independently. And it created a really interesting scenario there. So just something to think about there. So what happens when we encourage this psychological safety, when we do allow for disagreement to happen in these situations? Well, first of all, it encourages innovation, right? We're going to try things, we're going to do things, we're going to find people are willing to share, people are willing to open up about experiences, explore new ideas, and not feel like everything's going to be shut down. So the other area is preventing failures, okay? A team that is open to disagreement, that is okay with that open disagreement happening, prevents failures, because just because one person says something, even if it's the person who owns the business, if it's you, then, you might be wrong. Or just by the fact that, you're right in this situation, maybe you're right in every situation, and people are just no longer willing to question and confront. And so we end up facing failure if it's just one person's idea all the time. The third one is this idea that being open to disagreement and open to challenge and all those sorts of things, it boosts retention. Okay, all of a sudden my ideas matter. All of a sudden that I can input into something, even if I'm wrong, I can input into something and feel like what I've got to say has value. Okay, so you're getting the picture here. This idea that a good team never disagrees, a good leadership team never disagrees. I'm calling that one out as a myth, no matter which way you slice and dice it. Now, I don't want to have fights and I don't want there to be discomfort, but I do want disagreement. I do want proper tension that creates the growth, that creates the trust, that creates the accountability that we desperately need in our leadership teams to be successful. So what can you do? I want you to think about this. If you're a leader and you're leading a meeting, I want you to deliberately ask somebody who doesn't input much into the meetings. Maybe you're going to prep them and tell them you're going to do that, particularly if they're more of the thinker rather than the talker. But I want you to deliberately ask someone, and someone who doesn't normally speak, and quieten down the ones who always speak, and give them that opportunity, and just see what you get out of that. See what kind of rise you get from that person. Often you're going to get a lot of great wisdom because they're noticing things that you're not noticing. Anyway, just something to think about today. A good team never disagrees. We're calling that one out. We're checking that as a myth. I'm Jono Brake. As always, enjoy the journey.